Good day, brothers and sisters from Maker's Bar, where we are creating 1 million leaders today for tomorrow. I'm extremely excited and pleased, as usual, with some of the guests that we're having during our series on redefining Black excellence. Today is no short of an amazing interview that we have in store for you. This brother and I had some great conversations prior to scheduling this interview, where we found ourselves delving into we as a people today, in addition to businesses, and Black people are in business areas where they're making a difference. Our guest today is making a huge difference with his company. Our guest today, please make him feel welcome, Makers Bar audience, is Sheik Astin Simmons Bey. Sheik is the founder and executive director, chairman and executive director of the Bey Group of companies, and is adept in cross-culture affairs, interactive marketing, team building, business development, and relationship management, working to support the underserved communities of North America by creating markets to supplement production and prolific workforce through his FundExecs initiative. FundExec initiatives sounds extremely interesting, and I'm hoping we can delve into that as a part of this particular series in Black excellence. And you, as one of the important guests in redefining what Black excellence looks like, as I mentioned with my previous interview with Angela Lewis, there are persons like yourself who are making huge differences with the work that they're doing. To me, that screams Black excellence. Black excellence has been looked at often as the Beyoncés and the Jay-Z and a number of these extremely wealthy individuals that happen to be Black. But we also know Black excellence to mean persons like yourselves who are doing work on the streets, foot to the ground, and creating new opportunities for, in the workplace and with their businesses. So, Sheik, if you don't mind, give us a little history as far as where you hail from, what's your origin, and what got you to this place. Tell us where you were born and raised, and a little bit about your family life.
All right. A little bit about myself. 34-year-old mover and shaker with conversational pieces, native of Chicago. Started my works in the broadcast industry, working with radio stations like Power 92, V103. Did a bunch of concerts, in my early years. Went from the broadcast industry, the music industry, got involved in the blockchain space with my first startup back in 2014. I think that, 2014, back when blockchain became a popular thing. It really wasn't focused on cryptocurrency specifically, but more so blockchain. Continue working in the industry, build relationships with other founders, other executives, investors in the space. Started working with different founders and entrepreneurs to assist them in access to capital, because it's not the issue where it's a lack of capital, it's the accessibility to it. So, creating bridges there and opportunities there. Close towards Q3 2024, began to work a bit hands-on with a few portfolio founders, startup founders rather, and signed them on to be a portfolio company of my organization, FundExecs Venture Club, for 2025. With FundExecs Venture Club, we're working on developing an impact fund for 40 founders, 40 different startup organizations that we'll be building a portfolio with. We have a membership structure for student-led organizations, individuals who are looking to get involved and invest in, individuals who are looking to get involved in startups, or individuals who have ideas, and just need a network, resources and support around them to develop those ideas. And so that's a bit about me. I could run on, but that's where we're at today. That's a bit from my background from when I started in my professional industry to how I got to where I am today.
Now, was it some of your parental figures and or role models that got you interested in creating a fund investment firm? Am I saying
Uh,
that correctly?
Not more so. It was experience in life. When I had my startup, going to raise capital, hearing guys always say, hey, man, tap into your friends and family. And, when you think the so-called Black family, it's not really much core support there when you come to financial commitments and, ideas, business initiatives and endeavors. It's more
Tell
so
me,
guys
if you don't
pointing you
mind,
out to the next job. Huh?
can I ask you something? Why do you
But
think that is in black families? In black families, why do you think that is where we have some of that as a lack of our interest and or focal point when it comes to money?
if I could say anything, I would say fear of risk. Fear of risk, fear of the unknown, lack of experience, uh, not having the right people around you to, embrace your thoughts, to kind of push you past those barriers. Uh, you got to be the out of the box thinker. Business isn't for everybody. It's a whole nother monster.
Business isn't for everyone. Who is business for then?
Those who have resilience, those who have grit, you know, those who can, look at the day to day operation and say, hey, my failures are my points of education. You know, failures were my best teachers.
Mm.
I always share the guys who are new in startups or, the guys that I mentor, like, I really didn't learn to ride a bike until I fell off it. Once I fell off it, I learned not to fall off it. And that's the same thing when it comes to business. You won't know how to succeed until you fail.
I
Now you're just
agree.
working
Now
on
tell
not
me,
failing anymore and continuing to succeed.
So what got you interested in this particular line of work? Was it the blockchain work that you did, or your experience with the record labels, or how did you get interested?
Uh, I had one experience a few years back where, I had a couple extra bucks. I was working on a plan with my wife to, put out some herbal tinctures and elixirs, infused with cannabis, and met a guy who I thought was a guy. Found out that the guy stole some product from some other guys, and he ended up introducing me to those guys, and we became part of the company. And I started figuring out, all right, well, we could kind of purchase our way into, income, into operations where we have cash flow, residuals, into, making business accounts, pulling on employees. And when I think of all these different elements, separately, they're expenses. If I'm able to find a maneuver, or an opportunity where, I can acquire $1,000 a month, 10 grand a month, 50 grand a month, and then start learning how to excel this experience. I really wouldn't be focused on too much of the day to day application as everybody would think. I would be looking more so at, hey, what opportunities do I have a basic interest in that I could elevate, and that I could perhaps meet somebody and, create a relationship and optimize those opportunities with them.
And elaborate on that, if you don't mind, to make those opportunities. Elaborate.
So, for instance, uh, we have a portfolio company called Replay Incorporated. They're out in Nigeria and they're in the digital media space. They work. I don't want to short sell them and say that they're African Netflix, but they have an interactive piece. Where if we were watching a conference or something and there was a Q&A going on with the conference, we could, be involved in the Q&A at home. But for instance, when I'm speaking of, optimizing relationships, uh, I have guys who are in the production industry, right? Who are looking to get their you know, productions out. Simple as that. Rather it be movies, TV shows, pilots, etc. But when we think of the process of getting on Hulu, Tubi, Netflix, it's an arm and a leg. You got to make a sacrifice there, which isn't a problem. I mean, all things take sacrifice. But if
Absolutely.
I could create a bridge of relation where one, I have the channel where those who are in the broadcast industry could not only broadcast their productions, but also have a form of internationalization, meaning go from a national standpoint to now we got guys in Africa and Asia watching these productions because we have a channel that we're working through in Africa that broadcasts in America and in Africa and in Asia, right? Now, optimizing them would perhaps find somebody that's a media buyer, that really works in the exclusivity of the underrepresented community, those communities who are making productions to, uplift the community, or creating some type of, student-led program and tapping into the HBCUs, getting with the presidents, introducing them to the founder. Now that media program is a direct pathway into actually being broadcasted. And who knows, those schools may have their own channels. So
So,
it's just finding ways to make things make sense and add value on both sides.
so that's what your company does. It looks to build relationships and put them together in order to
Uh,
optimize both.
something like that. Something like that.
Give us
More so
insight.
when we're speaking of an individual that's coming to learn about investments, I mean, we're creating an open space for them to be themselves, to learn it on a base level around seasoned experienced individuals. Uh, those who are coming in and they have an idea, and it's not really fleshed out, they're indecisive, they're not too confident. We're building an apparatus where they can get around people who have decisive, gritty, out of the box thinkers, movers and shakers when it comes to the startup industry, so they can get around them and actually see how it works and get involved a bit. When it comes to service providers and investors, we've created a space where those startups that are building, they're able to supply that service, whether it be digitalization, graphics, web design on the service providing side. Or when we come to investors, some are just looking to advise, some are looking to mentor, some are looking to put some cash in, but we're creating a space to be able to find those guys that are doing those types of things, uplift them, highlight them, empower them, exclusively back them to put them in a position where we do develop their character. We do get them ready to speak to investors. We do help them with creative direction on, when it comes to go to market strategies. This is how we see we can accelerate production. This is how we see we can build traction, and we present that to the investors alongside of building a general consensus. Not asking for money, but building a general consensus. Because what I always tell guys is, you don't want to be the girl that's just there for the party. Every guy's had that girl that came just for the party, and it's like, who speaks to her still,
I
and you
do.
don't want to be that one with the investor, and then you looking like, hey, when are we gonna follow up, and you don't get the response. You got treated like that girl that was just there for the party.
So tell me something. So I'm a new startup company. I go to FundExecs. Walk me through the door to the end.
All right, you go to fundexecs.com. If you're looking to be part of the membership structure and earn benefits by being a member, you will go through the earn benefits section. You'd read the startups, go to the startup section, read the details, and see if it aligns with your goals. Become a member. Simple as that, Or if you're looking to specifically raise capital, or if you're looking for incubation or acceleration, you go to the for founder section. And on the for founder section, it lists those details where you can apply there. Very simple. We keep it real simple. We try not to overcomplicate it. We give them an overview of what could be offered, what could be done. We don't guarantee or promise anything, but we do work along the road. So when it comes to, for instance, we got a guy named Christopher who just came on earlier, and he's in the pharmaceutical space, and he's raising 21 mil. Uh, I told him I don't really think you're ready to raise equity, but I could assist you with character development. I could assist you with investor readiness. I could assist you with creative direction, because if there's an opportunity for you to pivot from just typically raising for the idea into, we may have a partner that's in the pharmaceutical space that has exactly what you need. It may turn into a mezzanine where we have a mergers and acquisitions / startup situation, where we're acquiring the necessary assets, but we're still raising for the original brand. But now the brand doesn't come with just an idea. It comes with employees. It comes with an email. It comes with clients, a client list, a bank account. The owner that's selling it may stay on for a year or two as an advisor, which is always good because now it can siphon the knowledge. You know what I mean? It's so many opportunities there that, certain things aren't shared with our community, and we don't reap the benefits of it. So now I think it's best for me to do so in a very, I don't want to call it meager to short sell it, but in a very layman's understanding, because what I know about our people, we learn through forms and celebrations. You know, you can try to present a great opportunity for investment to our family and friends, and it won't get any bandwidth. But soon you say it's a party, they're there. You know,
That's true. Yeah.
How can we leverage that emotion, knowing that? Let's create a party for a purpose.
Well, I like that. Now tell me, do you primarily deal with Black businesses, or are you open to all businesses?
I say underrepresented communities. Uh, Quite honestly, I find the term Black derogatory, so I really don't say that. But when it comes to our people in general, uh, I do create opportunities to exclusively back them and create an apparatus for them to be able to, function. Uh, but it's not exclusively specifically for Black businesses. I have a African portfolio company. I have a Siberian portfolio company. I have an Irish portfolio company. We're working all over the world right now.
And I'm glad. I wanted to clarify that because underrepresented doesn't have to be exclusively a Black race or white race. Underrepresented meaning those, as you mentioned earlier, who don't have access to the resources for their startups and so forth. So I get it. Underrepresented.
They
Okay,
lack
I'm glad.
representation. When
Yeah.
we think, I understand the phrase Black excellence because it's to empower our people and to give them hope and drive to get it done, right? But if we don't create the apparatuses for those things to be represented and those people to be represented, we'll have outside communities doing it for their own benefit, and then the same cycle will just continue. And so what I see now is, even when we go back to high school, grammar school, no taxation without representation. With all due respect, you have the so-called Black this, Black that when it comes to political forms, but does it really benefit our communities? So I really can't say it represents us. So that's why that's the need for the term underrepresented, because there's no actual representation, but we're still getting taxed for our operations. But until we get some economic footing in lieu of such and start dealing with the African nations, start dealing with the Asian nations, start dealing with the European nations and the South America, so on and so forth, then 365 days after, we'll see a difference.
Now I'm curious. I want to go back to something you said. I found very interesting. The term Black, you find it derogatory.
Yes.
Can you explain, bro? I'm very curious about that, so our audience can
Yeah, of
understand also
course.
where you're
Of
coming
course.
from.
When we go back to history, some people may have forgot, you know, but when we go back to history, 1479, you know, we had Spain conquer Fez. And when they conquered Fez, they labeled the people in Fez negritos, right? And 1492, March 1492 specifically, the Moors and the Jews were expelled from Fez, right? And then same year, August 1492, right? Christopher Columbus came and had got a letters patent from the royals of Spain and the Catholic royals, right? October 1492, he landed in America on the tutelage of the Spanish royalty, right? And when he planted his flag, it was on the basis of this land would be Spain, right? And so if the people at that point were seen as things, which that's where the term negrito comes from, not a person, but a thing. Negrito is a thing. When he landed and he seen those people that looked like us, they were negrito because Spain was still conquering our territories. This wasn't a subsequent that he landed and he just thought he was in the Indies. That's the story. He has a letters patent that said that he was sent to the Americas to make those lands that were unchristian Christian. And so he named those people Negrito. And later on, when France came and there was a spark between Spain and France, I know you know that history. The French people named those people colored. I mean, that's why in South Africa you have the colored law, or in Europe you have the colorable law, or here you have the colorable law. You know, it's all about color. It's materialism. You know, it's all still chattel slavery in a sense. We don't want to get too in depth in that because, you know, people speak on conspiracy. But now when we speak from France to the power that be today, France lost to England, right? Louisiana Purchase. So now when we think from the Spanish language, Negro is what in English? Black. So it's all about the conquering theory still going on in political and legislative forums. We just don't pay attention to it. Some do, and they think that they're powerless, so they say nothing about it. I'm just one of those that do something about it, you know, that does something about it. You know, even if you look at the Congress has a parliamentary supervisor. So the parliament is literally involved in legislation and policy here. So meaning England is still in power. I mean, that's neither here nor there. But when we think of the construct that these were a group of Europeans that came to our people and told them that your name is in Kunta Kinte, it's Toby. And now people are fighting to be called Toby today.
They're fighting to be called Toby, as in accepting their westernized names, or what do you
No,
mean?
accepting the name that you were told. Kunta Kinte was told he was black. He was told he was Toby. I mean, you were told you were black. Meaning before we were black, we were told we were colored. Before we were told we were colored, we was told we was Negro. Before that, they had an Indian story. But India's in Asia. But if I continue to misplace you mentally, right? If I get you to displace yourself, right? And then I use the story that when I came to these lands, there was nothing here, right? It's legitimized by action, by the people saying, no, I'm from Africa. But the African people would say, no, you're from America.
So what is the term? So is African American a better term we should use, or?
Well, technically speaking, you couldn't be a continent. Technically speaking, we're not attached to any affixation of a land. We were part of the olden time. I don't like when we say black excellence. Remember, I shared with you what we're going to coin is ancient excellence. Matter of fact, antiquity, olden times, because we were operating prior to the Europeans' establishment. We may have forgotten that, but you can look at the records Mississippi, Huxby County, right? And it'll share that in the 1900s, right? We were in power in Mississippi. To the world, we was slaves in chains in Mississippi in the early 1900s, right? That's not the truth. If you look at county records, it says we were the governors, we were the politicians, we were the store owners. Hide it in a book, they'll never find it.
So, what people of color who live in America, in your thoughts, how would we, if, and I'm just posing this
I'm
question,
not
what would
starting
be
any
the term?
controversies, brother, because I know there's going to be a lot of thoughts on here where people want to say they this, they that, they this, they that. You can call yourself a skillet. I can't cook on it. But me, I'm Moorish American.
Wait, wait, Sheik, wait.
Me, I'm Moorish American. That's me. I can't tell you about your brother, your sister, your uncle, your auntie now. You know, they may feel like they, resemble those ancients who, when they call it black royalty or, the dark ages, they may feel like them was their ancestors. But, until you live it out, man, you be calling yourself some of these other things.
So people of color, I'm curious. Well, first, I'm still kind of laughing at you can call yourself a skillet and I can't cook on you. That still has me laughing. And you know what, bro? In today's times, with everybody wanting different names, somebody might be going around saying I'm a skillet.
Hey, man! All this transhumanism, they might want to be that. They might want to, man.
That has me rolling. Okay. See, I expect that one. That tickled me, man. So, as far as identifying a collective group of individuals who, we've gone through the Jewish American thing, Native American, etc. So, and we're in the series on Black excellence. So, people of color, you said you're Moorish American. So, people of color, you're saying it's okay for them to say they're Black, or would you see them as looking, or that is they're adopting a negative term for themselves? Is there a term that you feel we can use, should use, or don't even worry about it? We're just Americans.
I say this, Moolah, move around. Pardon myself, that's my dog. But I would say this: if you desire to be compelled to a social compact that was established, that was perhaps not for your benefit and for your ill gain, meaning some people use it in a basis of undue influence against you, or what they call it, undue influence and unjust gain. I forgot the specific term, but Europeans have assumed themselves authority over us by the terms black and white, right? But the nuance is these same people that will use the term white have nationality, right?
Mm-hmm.
Serbian, English, Irish, whatever you may have, Russian, Slavic, we can go through the board, right? And even, for conversational pieces, you may have some Africans that come here and they'll say black only, not to deal with this, with all due respect, this YN situation, if you know what I'm saying when I say that phrase. The young guys, they a bit aggressive and, think the reality of the fact somebody coming from another country and they honoring the fact that they Zimbabwean, or they honoring the fact that they Kenyan, and you say that, no, you black, and they're like, no, I'm not, I'm Kenyan, no, you black. would you rather argue with that person, or would you just say, yeah, you're right?
Oh, got it. Okay.
Would you pick the first or the latter?
I, I, I to me, it's important to me identifying as a black man. For me, my
No,
dad
I
was
understand
raised.
that, but we're speaking conversationally on what I just asked you. If you
Oh,
came
oh,
here
sir.
and you said you were Kenyan, right? And me and you going back and forth, right? And I'm like, no, you black. And you trying to tell me that you Kenyan. I'm no, you black. Would you go back and forth with me, or would you just end it and just agree with me?
I just said that there's no need to argue. There's an old expression that says, "Don't argue with the fool, hence you'll become one."
And then when you know that the emotion of such is with deep within every one of them. No disrespect to you, brothers and sisters that may hear this, but it's the fact that when you see that same spirit in every one of your brothers and sisters, would you want to tell them your nationality, or would you just agree, not black?
It's a good question. I think I just would just say I'm just black and leave it at that. I don't know that it would
That's
be.
the problem. We've forced uncivilized ways on civilized people.
Mm.
And since we're uncivilized, we desire people to be uncivilized with us. I mean, with all due respect, the phrase misery, right? It wants company. Really think of the state of our said community.
What? Well, hold on. Let's pause it.
Really think of the state of our community. No, no, no. I
That's
love
plenty.
our brothers and sisters, but I'm in Chicago. I could look outside right now. And if anybody got a problem with what I'm saying, call your brother at Sheik Astin Simmons Bey, at Sheik Astin Bey. Let's get a broom. Let's get a mop, some fabuloso. I am down to clean my community. I'm down to do the work and the help. But I'm not down to sugarcoat as if we got the right to have a beautification program in Chicago. Brothers and sisters shooting at each other. But the mayor is talking beautification and moving in foreigners.
Oh, all right, bro. All right.
Come on, man.
Yep. Yep.
It's the reality. Misery
Yes.
won't. We want you to be part of what? When we are real with ourselves, brother Seth, we have some great ideas from our people, but then when we have embraced something in falsehood, I always share to my brothers, even in a society that's calling themselves Moors, missionaries, ministers, whatever you may have. I say you can't unify on falsehood. It's not going to become productive.
What is the falsehood?
Anything that will be based in falsehood, if you attempt to unify on it, it will not drive you into anything productive. As much as we fight for it, as much as we fight against whatever we think is against us, if we unify on a basis of falsehood, it could never become productive.
So is the falsehood on identifying as a Moorish American without knowing their genealogy, or is the falsehood accepting the term black? What is the falsehood? Something that you mentioned, just so we're clarifying that for the audience.
Accepting certain things that you couldn't identify that were brought to your people by your people. Meaning, if I could blatantly identify that a European came to my people and identified my people as something, regardless of me trying to make nigga a good word, it was established for something negative. If you get the parable,
I do. I do.
irregardless of my personality, trying to say,
I
oh
like where we're
no,
going. I like where we're going. I'm on it.
nigga,
Please continue.
that's my brother, nigga. Come on now, that word was established for your demise and your debasement. How could
So
you
what?
choose certain things as such and antiquate as if you could rise on certain ways as such? It doesn't make
Okay.
any sense.
So I'm curious. I want to ask you. We're familiar, and in Chicago, my dad lived in Chicago for years. He talks about my dad was significantly older, so he talks about the good old days of Chicago, and he didn't like the term for us to say to "What's up, my nigga? What's up, my nigga?" And so, but we in this generation have chosen to use that word, or now as they say, the N word, to as homies. So, what explain what you see that as when people, men of color, and even now, I even see now some of the young girls, which are just a sidebar but related. And I'm curious your take on this as you elaborate on this term. I have been fascinated that girls from the hood, or and even in my family, they talk to other women and they'll say, "What up, my N word? What up, nigga? What up?" And so I found that it has become so commonplace. I'm very curious about how that has become so accepted. And now I want to throw this in before I hear your explanation. So I've heard a few times it explained we've taken the power away from that word because we own it and we have made it a new term of affection. So, including all that information with the new term of affection, the young black women who are using that terminology now, and then growing up in our generation, that term, and even nowadays, what up, as if it's a term of affection. How do you see that? Is that a positive or is that a negative? Or just what are your general thoughts about how that comes across?
I mean, even in the imaginable state of saying, field nigga, house nigga, right? There were certain people that was on the field that wanted to get off the field, but there were certain
Mhm.
people on the field that want to fight to stay on the field. It just transmuted into another idea. It's the same thing. It's the same spirit. It's just a new time. It ain't a house in a field, nigga. It's just the same mentality that drives the basement,
So the word, so the word,
self-destruction.
so the word is still debasing, is what I'm hearing you saying. Is that what I'm understanding? When
I
you
mean,
use it,
this is the reality of it. This is the reality of it. When you think of people that's running business and making decisions in the world, right? People that's writing checks to get things done in the world. Do you think they're gonna sit in the room with a nigga? Would you?
I don't. Well, I wouldn't find myself in place with that term. To me, I'm in there with brothers and sisters that are of color.
Egg. I wouldn't disrespect them on that last part, the color thing, because that make them a thing. That makes them a thing, an object. But I wouldn't speak derogatory, and I wouldn't deal with those people who deal in those vain ways. Because when we're looking at the world construct, right, the nations of the earth, right, it's built on the construct of family. And when you move yourself outside of that construct, you could only become a thing, an object of the families of nations to use. And
So the term is.
unbeknownst, our people have made that choice. I mean, the
So
reality
that's
is,
what I get to you. That's what I get to you. So our people have made the choice to adopt a word that is still debasing. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
I mean, yeah, it's no right or wrong way with it. When you look at you don't see no pink, no yellow, no green, no purple man, right? The only reason you could try to legitimize this thought with me is because of some passive aggressive thought of that this is a white man and you trying to have power because of white power. That's the only childish thought that I hear from individuals that you could try to solidify that term. Other than that, it's no basis. It has no foundation, no grounding, but personality. And how far does that get you?
So what would you answer a dude? I pose a question to you. So what would you answer a cat that comes up and say he wants to pound fist and say, "What's up, man? What's your immediate response?"
I'm not your slave.
Oh, okay, that's it. I dig it. Okay, that actually puts an exclamation point to it in a strong way. And so his response, his reply might be, "No, you're my brother. You're my homie. Come on, you know."
Yeah, we'll keep it that way. That's a position.
Oh, dig it. You're speaking some knowledge. Okay, elaborate.
Brother is a title. That was an executive position in the Catholic Church. It still is. It's called a friar.
Hmm.
A friar is a brother.
Hmm.
So you took on a name of an executive office in the Catholic Church and you're not going to uphold it. We just added it to our family structure.
So should the N word be eliminated from our vocabulary as people of color?
It should be eliminated from everybody's vocabulary.
Okay.
It has no positive purpose. You know, I mean, you got Europeans these days now, right? Who know what they ancestors have made that word for, right? Who use it to antagonize Asiatics unbeknownst. You know, and Asiatics are supporting these identities and these individuals ignorantly. You know, I just seen an orange haired guy not too long ago, you know, rapper guy. And man, if anybody got a problem, you know, I'll pull up on them. ETC, you know. This was the same thing back when they first started saying it. What's different? You just rekindling what your ancestors doing. But then you got people on our side that's defending it. And that's what make it even more scary.
Now elaborate on that. So they're defending his freedom to choose to use that word, or the fact that it's an acceptable term for we as people of color.
I mean, you could use whatever word you want. That's not a thing. But what is your intention in using this word?
You're my brother. I'm showing you we took that word back from white people. We own it now. We're empowered by using it.
Well, with me being a person that I'll be 35, Nick, this year. With all due respect, as much as I love you, that response, don't get mad at me, brother.
I would.
That response was
I didn't hear you. Your mic went out, bro. Say it again. Hey, Sheik, your sound went out. Now I can hear something.
Pardon ourselves. I
There we
got a
go.
meeting we were supposed to get off at 6. I got another meeting
Yes.
with my advisor. But
Yes.
you know, that thought, you know, it's rooted in negativism. You know, it'll get you nowhere. It produces no value. The only mechanism I see for us to be able to get somewhere is to reestablish ourselves economically, you know, and with those of the world who, you know, see how the world turns, you know, those people who formed Sudan, South Sudan, rather, they can't say that they black. They had to say that they were South Sudanese to form South Sudan in these last few years, you know, so on and so forth. When you look at the reality of the function, you know, and then even myself, you know, just a lot of, I'll just say this and then, you know, we'll wrap it up on the thought. It's a lot of guys out here that's pushing a lot of conspiracy theory, different, you know, elements, you know. Like I said, I'm here. I'm the founder and executive director of FundExecs Venture Club. We're here to create opportunities for our brothers and sisters in the underrepresented community at large. Alongside that, we already have a process where we are, you know, moving forth toward an administrative relationship, starting off with the state of Illinois in lieu of a constructive trust mechanism for certain historic injustices. You know, and the terms Negro, Black, and Colored are in there and seen as anti-Semitic slurs. Because when we think the Bible, right, real quick, Seth, and then I'm gonna have to, you know, we're gonna have to wrap it up soon.
For sure. For sure.
Can you say that your ancestors, right, were those brothers and sisters they spoke of in that Bible, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yes.
Those are the Semitic people. Right?
Yes.
Those were the Moabites, Canaanites, Hamathites, Amorites, the rulers of the earth, right? How could we call ourselves something outside of that? Or allow somebody outside of that to call ourselves anything outside that? When we know that the new world was made to throw that away, to throw that part away, right? And law say that law is grandfather, and I'm attached to that.
I'm attached to that, not the new, what you made, which I have to be bound and compelled to what you make because it's your intellectual property. And if I'm saying that I'm a part of your society, I have to adhere. But if I'm saying that I'm part of the old society in which you came and bled into our society, we never agreed or had a conversation about this. Now let's work on this conversation and we move forward and we actually get some justice done because our children's children deserve better. You know,
Absolutely.
they don't deserve for us to sit on a lie and for us to debase ourselves and knowing it ain't moved nowhere for us. I mean, even Martin, before he left, he say, man, I may have walked my people in a burning building.
Mm, mm.
He agreed to something that he found out later had not been for our benefit. Now, what if it had been those customs that are attached to that intellectual property called black, Negro, colored people, people of color, whatever, colored people. Now, think of the honest fact as a man. Don't nobody else in the world allow themselves to be called whatever you may want to call it by the day. But us. And when we change it, it may disrupt the world.
I think it will, and I want you to know, I don't, you wouldn't offend me. I do consider us brother. I loved our conversations off camera and on camera. I more so wanted just to create the dialogue in examining these terms that we see our brothers and sisters participating in. So I just want to create. I felt like we were on a consistent pathway, and I thought we were in this good direction to discuss how this is a part of our ecosphere, and just to examine how this word is used. So I appreciate you saying no offense and so forth, but you wouldn't offend me. I appreciate that you shared your knowledge because I think there's several points in here aside from making me laugh that were really deep. I got to go back and think again, bro, because I got to tell you, Sheik, you gave me some at least two deeper insights than what we've talked previously that I have to really self-examine too. Not on the word itself, but more in contextualizing conversations with our brothers and sisters. I am so fascinated, and I hope that you and I know we're going to continue because you also were talking about a podcast that you have coming out as well soon.
Yep.
Am I too early in announcing that? So that's something I want people to be able to check out.
Founders Day
And I
will
would
be a
love
part of FundExecs. Yep.
it's fantastic, and I'm looking forward for people to be able to see that. And I've enjoyed our conversations. We had a couple hours conversation off camera where some of the knowledge that was spilled and conversations we had were completely enjoyable. And I hope as we continue to build, we'll be able to share more of that insight because I think those things are important for us to talk about as a people, as Americans who are of color, to examine these. Because you said the best thing, and I'll end it here. This is how we rebuild. And it can be disruptive, but it would be for the betterment of us
Yeah, it's
all.
revitalization and restoration, getting back to what
Absolutely.
was to be what is.
Yes, even better, even better. I know you had some time restraints, Brother Sheik. I so appreciate you taking out the time with us today. Thank you for sharing with us your company and your story. Thank you for the knowledge you gave us, because I do feel, as I'm continuing the series on Black excellence, and just since that is the word that is used to describe people of color who have excelled, I wanted to have an examination, a guest like yourself, where we are looking at these terms and where we come up with them and what does it look like and what is Black excellence, redefining it. It's not just these great millionaires. So I'm so appreciative because to me, you, my brother, are Black excellence, excellence of color, even if we want to say that, because I think a number of people who will hear this will hear some of the knowledge gems that you dropped, and they'll do like I did. I have to meditate on that because that was wisdom. And I appreciate you sharing your wisdom with us truly, bro. And you know, as we spoke off camera, I really enjoyed several of our conversational points. So I thank you for taking out the time with us today. Thank you for spending time with Make Us Bar. Thank you for helping to create more leaders, because that's our goal, creating 1 million leaders today for tomorrow. And I think this conversation is the start of that. And I'm looking to what we're going to do in the future, you and I, as well as another part where we can interview, or I come and interview with your show and you come back here. We're going to share some more insight into this conversation. Again, Brother Sheik, please tell people where to reach you at, how they can get your links, if you wouldn't mind describing, expressing those.
Indeed. Brothers and sisters, you can find your brother Sheik Astin Simmons Bey on all social platforms at Sheik Astin Bey. That's SheikAstinBey. And you can also follow us at FundExecs on all social platforms as well. Remember two things, brothers and sisters. Nationality is the order today, right? And
Mm.
you are truly, right, what your ancestors were today, without a doubt or contradiction, right? And that means antiquity.
I love that. And you know what? I usually have some other deep insight to that. You just expressed such a warmth and such a wisdom in saying that. I think that's the perfect way to close on that. Vegas Bar audience, we thank you so much for joining us today with me and Brother Sheik. I'm looking forward to our continued conversations. Remember, as I've always said, the love evolution begins with you. The revolution of love begins today, and it will be televised. And since we are doing this, Brother Sheik took out his time. I'm so appreciative. We are in the midst of a California crisis with these fires where power outages are imminent and they're going forward. So I do want to express that during this time, and I'm sure Brother Sheik would like to as well, our hearts, pardon me, our hearts, our prayers, and our thoughts are with those in this devastating fire, and that blessings may continue to be showered upon those who have truly lost. And we're not just talking about those who have money, but those who have truly lost any loved ones and their destruction of their hard work. We want to send our thoughts and our prayers and our love to all of those in California who went during this battle. Thank you to those firemen and all those responders and restaurants, all those people who are a part of the process, making things able and capable to rebuild. I'm Seth Guru Baxter. This is Brother Sheik Astin Simmons Bey. We at Maker's Bar continue to enjoy you viewing us. Thank you for how fast you can have a Maker's Bar grow. We continue to want to bring insight and creative leaders and innovators like Brother Sheik. So we thank you for joining us today, and we're looking forward to you continuing. This is part 2 in the series on Black excellence with Brother Sheik, and I'm looking forward to the next 5 guests and bringing them to you. Brother Sheik, thank you so much. All my love and honor and wisdom to you. I'm looking forward to our conversation continue. Maker's Bar
Likewise.
audience, Seth Guru, out with blessings. Take good care, brothers and sisters.
All right. Peace and love, y'all.
Peace and love.